Progressive Investing.
Mack Rhoades, Director of Athletics at Baylor, with us 365 Sports with Craig Smoke, Paul Catalina, and I'm David Smoke. Mack, thank you very much for your time. Had it not been that men's basketball win against UCLA, would that have been one of the toughest stretches you've been through as an AD as far as wins and losses?
Yeah, I probably would have. I was actually having that conversation with somebody and was just talking about, this has been a kind of a tough, stretch, a tough patch of games, within a really condensed amount of time, within, 7 days, 8 days, whatever it was. So, yeah. And, it made me realize, quite frankly, just how blessed we've been and how successful we've been. And, these are, ranked teams that have lost some games. And again, it made me really think about, never take anything for granted, and we got to keep pressing. I think the other thing it really made me realize and be, cautious about is, and this isn't, for our fans, this is for me as an athletic director and as a leader of this department is, not to be so results oriented, but to double down and really continue to be process oriented. And so it just made me think about, hey, got to continue to double down on the process and make sure that the process is the very best it can be, that it's elite, that it's a championship process. Because if we continue to do that, the results will come. And so those losses hurt. They're agonizing. Saturday was agonizing, but just making sure that we don't lose focus and continue to double down on the process. So I hope that makes sense.
Yes. Mack, what is it like in the offices after a loss like that TCU game that was so compelling and riveting the entire game, but a gut punch at the end?
Yeah, I think, the right thing to say, the correct thing to say is we're gonna let that one go and move forward. It's time to move forward, or we've got 24 hours to get that out of our system, and then we're going to move forward because we've got an opponent in 5 days, and as far as I know, that game isn't canceled, or in 6 days, whatever it is. And so those are all of the right things to say, and the right attitude and the right mindset. But it's way harder to really do that and to live that out. And Sunday was hard. I'll certainly speak for myself. Sunday was really hard for me. I was in the office Sunday morning, and coach and I, and just interacting with some other coaches, you could just see it and feel it. And so, that's a process that you work through, and it's a process that you work through, not only as a staff, but with your student athletes. I do think by the time we got to Monday, we were in a much better place. We obviously have to be. We've got a great opponent, at Texas, and we haven't won in Austin since 2014, and so it's a tall order, and we need to be prepared. But it's hard. It really is. That's reality. You can ask Amy. We had company, staying with us, and Saturday night I wasn't much in the mood for company or visiting, or that was a tough one.
Yeah, I think it probably stuck with a lot of people, Mack. It wasn't just you that felt probably like that on Sunday, but it probably just was a part of everyone saturated with it, with the way it went down and so close. And that win, you won the game, even though this has been a disappointing game based on expectations and also the standard, would that have at least softened the blow of so far what has been this football team?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. I don't know, probably, up until your next game, right? And I just think that's the way it goes. And the margin of error between, winning and losing is so razor thin. And particularly, I think, in this league, the Big 12, particularly this year. And but man, the difference in the way you feel is unbelievably amazing. The whole wild world of sports, the thrill of victory and agony of defeat. Well, that was absolutely the agony of defeat. But those are lessons that we as leaders. Those are lessons that our young man's got to learn. That even after agony of defeat, you gotta find a way to pick yourself up, learn from it, grow from it, and be ready to take on the next challenge. And so I think we'll do that in Austin, and look forward to it on Friday.
Mack, how do you feel like your head football coach has been able to manage, obviously what's been a mix of, yes, a lot of veterans that created a lot of the expectation for this season, but also clearly a lot of growing pains that also come with various other parts of the team and younger guys having to step up. Obviously, it's been challenging, but how do you feel he's been able to navigate the highs and the lows and trying to, as a head coach, not be too high, too low, so to speak?
Yeah, I think that's his sweet spot. Quite frankly, I think he does that stuff really, really well. And it's hard to speak to that, and it's hard for people like our fans and even you all in the media to get and understand that the amount of work, the amount of time and effort he puts into that and is intentional in terms of his conversations. Individual conversations with our student athletes, in terms of conversations he has with the team, with the staff. He works really, really hard at it and is tireless, quite frankly, when it comes to that stuff. And I think it makes a difference. I think it makes a huge difference. And again, he stays really, really steady, and I think he keeps our young men focused on the right things, as well as anybody that I've been around. You mentioned this season's been challenging. The expectations at the beginning because of as you mentioned, some of the returning members of the team, the veterans, and it's been this tug and pull. As he mentioned in the press conference of the younger kids and just the ebbs and flows of all of that. But I think he's done a really, really good job of it. And, again, I think, doubling down on the process. I think, we're in this process of building this program so that it can be nationally relevant every year, not every other year. Every other year is not the standard. Every year is the standard. And we're on that journey, and I feel good about it. And I think that, this year will help build for next year. And I think it's part of our journey onto making sure that this is a program that's nationally relevant every year.
Mack, some news dropped today in the college football world from EA Sports said that in 2024 they plan to reintroduce the college football video game, which now has come full circle after all the trials and rule changes and everything. And, they want to make sure they get as many schools as they can in the game, and that the players are compensated in name, image, and likeness. What are your thoughts on this reintroducing into the world and for it to benefit everybody involved, especially the players, and for schools and that, make those things available so that the players know that the schools back them on that video game thing now?
Yeah. So, we knew this was coming. We've been working, and when I say we, college sports, FBS programs have been, working with EA Sports since probably January of 2021. I think it was in February of 2021 where they, publicly confirmed the return of the game, and people weren't quite sure. And so now we do know it's summer of 2024. I think it's going to be pretty wild, pretty cool when you think about some of the things that that are going to be within the game, and including recruiting and transfer portal and using real college football players in the game and just the technology and all of that. So I think that's going to be really, I think, fun for the users, et cetera, and exciting and make the game, better than it's ever been before. I think, there's still information that we don't have really. What was released today is probably most of what we know. Obviously Baylor's expressed, provisional interest and, or conceptual approval and, participating in this. And, we've provided creative assets and all of that. But what we don't know is, how the our brand will be represented and how the name, image, and likeness piece will be handled to more specific to your question. And so, we're going to want to make sure that our student athletes, are compensated for it through name, image, and likeness, but yet those details are still pending and we're still waiting. And, I think it's going to be or potentially be a great opportunity for our student athletes, but we'll wait and see. And, once we know some of those details and we get comfortable around them, I think we'll be ready to move forward, at least, from Baylor's perspective. But it is important to us that there is a way, a mechanism through name, image, and likeness for our players to have some return.
Mack, the new pavilion goes a little bit, every day a new nail is nailed into a piece of something, or metal, concrete, whatever. It's going to be a capacity, I think, like 7,500 or whatever it is. How much of that number will actually be available to the general public if they want to buy tickets to a game?
Yeah, so I want to be, really clear on how we answer it. Smoke, you mentioned the capacity of 7,500, and that is correct. Plus maybe a few dozen seats, north of that. The final number, still working on. All of the seats, okay, will be reserved seats, okay. So meaning there's not going to be a general admission section where you can purchase a single game ticket and walk in and sit anywhere within that section. So I hope that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Every seat will be reserved. So if you buy a single game ticket, you're going to buy it for a specific seat and have to sit in that specific seat. Unless we get into standing room only and some of those things. And then, right now, how many single game tickets will be available? I think that's, something that we're still working on. That's fluid. Will there be single game tickets available for the public? Yes. But how many, is going to depend upon a little bit of where we land in terms of the season ticket capacity. And as we, still continue to work on the final seating manifest. And so we're still in the process of doing that as well. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, it does. I'm sure, because whoever can't maybe do or is not a part of the Bear Foundation or whatever the various levels you have maybe don't want to buy a handful of tickets. And I was asked to ask you that question. Dre Edwards from the women's basketball team, obviously they had the setback with Asia Blackwell. What is her status? What's going on with her eligibility for Nikki Collin?
Yeah, I think that's a work in progress in terms of the transfer and just in general. Anytime a student athlete transfers in, it's you go through the exercise, the process of how many of those hours are countable. Toward a Baylor degree, and Baylor not dissimilar to many other institutions. There's a minimum requirement of hours you have to get your degree from Baylor, and so that's part of the calculation. And what is counted toward degree progress and toward being eligible to play. And so, she has an opportunity potentially to go through all of that and meet all those requirements. Once we get on the other side of the calendar year, but there's some things that we'd have to work through in terms of the NCAA and transfer process. So all of that is in progress and in the works. And obviously we don't have anything definitive at this point in time.
Can she play next semester, you think?
There's a possibility, yes, but there's some things that I just spoke to that need to happen in order for that to occur. We're hoping. She's been a great addition. She's a wonderful young lady. I think she's right now academically she's doing tremendous. She's been a great teammate, and I know that Nikki is really, really happy that she's part of our program.
We're about a week away from December. Will the Big 12 schedule be ready by then? The football schedule for next year?
Yeah, it is tracking. Maybe delayed by a week, maybe, but certainly expected. I would expect it in the first half of December.
Last question, Thanksgiving Thursday. Other than the fact you're thankful for a lot of things at Baylor, meeting the three of us and being on this show as often as you are, is that the most thing you're thankful for?
Oh, without doubt. Without it's family, and then it's you three. So I will say this all joking aside. I am grateful for the three of you and the opportunity you provide me and Baylor Athletics to talk about our athletic department and our unbelievable staff and coaches and most importantly our unbelievable student athletes. And you guys provide a way to connect with our wonderful Baylor family, our fan base, which I continue to believe is the best in the country. And certainly wishing all of the Baylor family, all of our fans and friends and everybody a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving.
Mack, thank you very much. Good luck Friday. Thanks for your time, and including tomorrow with McNeese State and elsewhere as your teams take care of business this week. We appreciate your time. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
All right, that's Mack Rhoades, Baylor Director of Athletics. I asked about Ray